we're a little front loaded with Twitch news today.
Yeah.
As you may have heard, a lot of Twitch stuff has happened. Let's go with gambling.
So
Gambling's been banned off of Twitch.
So Twitch had a win and then multiple losses, but the win was that they sort of banned gambling. There's still the sites that are legal in the U.S. are still allowed, which will mean that it's not a complete ban, but a lot of the really like already illegal here and shouldn't have been allowed ever, like even in a pipe dream, are gone.
Yeah,
and that's
they also put like policies in place where you can no longer promote like your code for whatever gambling website was. Like you can't just put it out there. It's not the same as a G Fuel code or an Epic Store code. It's you're encouraging people to go gamble. So they made that you can't do that anymore.
I honestly what bothers me, like obviously it was the right move. Like there's nothing inherently negative about them doing this, but like why now? Like, I'm almost curious why the decision now when it should have happened going on 2 years ago?
Well, you see, a lot of people decided that it would be a good idea to do this thing where they take a day off Twitch.
Yeah.
In the middle of the most expensive ad season for Twitch, and it worked. Who would have thought that would have worked? What a crazy concept, taking a day off Twitch. That's such a dumb idea.
And it's almost as if the people who were doing it said the last one was a terrible idea and that it would never work.
Gosh darn it.
Yeah, them damn gamblers.
But yeah.
We don't want to
gambling.
Yeah. There's obviously a lot that you can interpret from there that we don't need to say, but it is interesting, and I don't.
Off the back of that, there was also a little bit of drama, which I'm not gonna let us like dwell on for too long, because that stuff's it's not the most interesting part. But it is revealing that a lot of the top people that were involved with the gambling stuff were also possibly involved with some unsavory things that maybe they should be removed from the platform for. Then after all of that happened, Twitch also seemingly announced that Amazon is to blame for a lot of their budget problems, which is crazy.
Oh, that's not the right desktop. Son of a... I can fix that. But yeah, so that was the weirdest part to come off of with all of this discussion is they took a win. They could have just been quiet for a little bit and immediately just been fine. And instead they put out a whole blog post about why they're not increasing revenue shares, why they're not willing, the website's not even, there we go. Why they're basically not even going to consider giving anyone else higher ad cuts, and why the 70-30 rev split is actually effectively going away. You can only, people who have it now will have it, but only up to $100,000 earned, and then it will go back to 50-50. And admittedly, they're given like a year's notice, but like, that's a long time to not,
This only really impacts like, I forget what the numbers were. Devin Nash ran the numbers on it, I think, and we're talking like less than 500 people on the whole website.
For direct impact, yes.
Yeah.
But the implications for everyone else who has spent the past basically since like right before the pandemic, when Mixer shut down and all of that, everyone who has spent the past 3 years basically begging Twitch to be better for streamers, better for revenue, better for sustainability. This shuts all of that down. And not only does that suck, but as you mentioned, they effectively blamed Amazon for it.
What a wild thing.
Like they're saying that their costs for bandwidth and for servers from Amazon, their parent company, is too high for them to share more revenue with partners. Keeping in mind that they quoted the rates that like the IVC or IV whatever, the public service that anyone can go stream with, they quoted those rates as the source of... Am I dropping frames? No. Okay. Sorry. My bandwidth...
I'm checking the YouTube feed and it's...
My bandwidth dropped to 0 for a second. That was weird.
Yeah, I think we're losing the YouTube feed for a second here.
It says it's fine now, though. Nope, we're back down. What is happening?
Bear with us, folks.
Yeah, I don't know why it's... We'll just do a slightly lower bitrate. Seems choppy, but otherwise it's still online. Oh, it's fine. Okay. That's fine. You don't need frames for this.
This is technically a podcast.
Yeah.
We're catering to you because we're on camera, but
the rates that they were quoting for the bandwidth and stuff was the rates that anyone could go pay Amazon for, not that they would or should have as literally part of the company. On top of the fact that they were quoting 200 hours a month, which is 50 hours a week of streaming, which is that's a lot of stream time. Like, even for someone who works a 40 to 50 plus hour work week, not all of that is gonna be live performing. Like, that's never the case.
It's more than a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It's more than just like a regular. You could go and get any regular old office job where you're grinding away 9 to 5, and it's like, this is arguably a worse deal.
Yeah. Like, and so they're quoting absurd rates of what I guess they think the average streamer is streaming, which is already insane. And then they're complaining that Amazon, like, I can't tell if this is a naive, as the best way I can put it, a naive PR move that they think people will believe this, or if really Amazon is that awful to be under, that this is just them being like, all right, we can't hide from it anymore, so here's how it is, guys.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
it sucks.
This kind of, I can only assume that Twitch operates as its own separate company.
Right.
Like, it's not like Amazon has full control. I'm sure they do at the end of the day, but like, I can only assume that they operate as basically a separate company, which would be why they would even reveal those budget numbers with regards to how much it costs to run the service. But like, at the same time, there should be some kind of discount. There should be some kind of way to subsidize the cost of having to utilize all of those services. Amazon bought them for a reason, you know. Like,
yeah, that's the weird part. Okay, we pretty much know. Like, I don't know that it's been 100% confirmed, but like, realistically, the reason Amazon acquired Twitch was for the tech. So to then be charging them too much for the tech that they, like, Twitch, the infrastructure of Twitch is what they used for their I forget what the last letter is. Amazon IVS. It's for the service. Like, if I want to run my own stream on my own website, I would pay Amazon for this service. That is using Twitch's technology. So they didn't acquire Twitch because they wanted a streaming platform. They acquired Twitch because they wanted the engineers and things like that.
The one thing that I will potentially give them a little like leeway here with is AWS gets used for like a lot
half the
of
internet.
A lot of the, so it's not like we're talking about, you know, them scrimping resources from just wherever they can. Like, AWS gets used for everything.
Yeah.
I mean, even the company I work at heavily utilizes AWS. So there is maybe something to be said for maybe Twitch isn't getting enough resources to sustain itself. Either way, it seems like a little bit of a stretch. So, like, to me, it seems like a little bit of a stretch.
If Twitch hasn't been profitable, it stands to reason that it's kind of been like the charity project within Amazon or whatever, because they bought it for the tech and they were happy to just let it run at a loss, and maybe they're tightening the belt at this point. So many major players have left Twitch over the years, and I just discovered during one of our recent discussions about AV1 stuff that their main engineer that was like did all of their video platform stuff and that was leading the charge for AV1, he actually parted at the end of 2021 to go work for TikTok. And so I don't even know if Twitch has an AV1 roadmap anymore, which is terrifying, but also kind of represents that maybe Amazon just expects them to kind of stay in place, and that's why we're not seeing features. That's why they're tightening the belt on bandwidth, but that's not going to work.
Already have AV1, like you can send it AV1 and it will recognize it, or
nope.
I don't know. different topic for probably a different stream, or maybe maybe in a few minutes here.
Yeah. And then
yeah, it's been a very strange and weird week for Twitch. Is it just I'm just waiting for the day when Amazon decides to say screw it and cuts ties, and then Twitch is its own entity again, and we find out really who is the problem.
Yeah. No, that is what I am expecting. Like, we're not gonna see, as we have learned over the past decade, those of you who have been around for this, we're not going to see the people from Twitch just suddenly leaving and making Twitch too, because there were enough people trying that with YouTube competitors that it never worked. And as mentioned, a bunch of the people already left and worked for other sites. Right. But I think at some point we're gonna get information.
It's gonna be called Bezos.tv.
No, it's got to be Jeff.tv to be like Justin.tv, Jeffrey.tv.
Oh, Jeffrey TV would be so good. Hey guys, it's me here, Jeffrey TV,
coming at you from my yacht, stuck in the Suez again. But yeah, I am at the point. I've been, even when I don't entirely believe it, been the person that's been the anti-Twitch is dead person for a very long time. If you missed it, I don't have it pulled up. Fwiz, who has been around since the Machinima days. He was big in Machinima, and then he was the lead
YouTube gaming.
He was the lead for YouTube gaming and YouTube live streaming for years, for about 8 years before he left last year to go work for some NFT startup. He put out basically an open letter to Twitch about, like, he believes in Twitch as a concept. He was part of it back in the day, and he wants it to survive. And here's his thoughts on how you have to prioritize the creator revenue and stuff. He tweets so often I can't find it anymore. But he put out a really thoughtful response. And I still want there to be people like that can believe in it enough to put, I guess, for lack of a better word, the right people around whoever makes decisions for Twitch to hopefully change things. But I'd say if you're a creator, you really have to start considering things if you haven't by this point. We've been preaching multi-streaming and diversifying for years and years at this point. And I am at the point we've been talking in some of the private chats. I'm going to just flat out make a video. Here's how to unshackle yourself from Twitch and build a more sustainable business video.
I would say that the actual sign to embrace other platforms. I mean, it's the writing's been on the wall for
it has
years, but the actual sign was when the response to how to grow on Twitch from Twitch was use other websites.
Yes,
you should have just immediately started hopping on TikTok, maybe trying to do something with YouTube Shorts. YouTube Shorts is incredible for viewership. Debatable on the growth part, but like you just throw a clip up there and it'll do 10,000 views for no reason.
Yeah, and like I think it's as telling as it gets when the strategy, as you mentioned, for growing your Twitch is to take your Twitch clips and post them on TikTok or YouTube Shorts.
Put them somewhere else.
Twitch had the clips. Twitch had all the source material that goes viral. All they had to do was put in some sort of For You page style thing for clips. Instead, if I watch a clip, it has recommended clips, and it's just all trash or like inappropriate stuff, like things that don't actually relate to what I'm watching. They're just random clips. Like they could have had the platform, like the combos and all these other platforms that exist in there was the one everyone was doing for a while, Hover, until that exploded. Like none of those
Streamladder.com.
Yeah, none of those needed to exist if Twitch just, like, they didn't even need to implement a separate VOD system. Like, that's still a thing they should do maybe, but like they didn't need a VOD system when they already had the clips. They just needed to distribute them better, and they never did. Like, that to me is just
yep, it's a missed opportunity.
Someone's asking in the chat about discoverability. So the big thing to understand, and I'm going to, so many people disagree with it, I get it, but I'm going to keep preaching it as we see more and more people shifting away from Twitch as a platform. The problem, all right, so how do I want to word this? You could look at it in one way, that discoverability for streams on YouTube is 100% worse than Twitch if you don't have an existing audience. But if you look at it in the bigger picture, there's no discoverability on Twitch. Twitch is the smallest platform of the big players. Twitch is the most niche platform of the big players. Viewers in mass do not want to browse through a list of forehead barely talking game streams to find a diamond in the rough and watch it for 4 hours. That is not where the viewing habits are. That's not where it is.
The discoverability on Twitch exists entirely on its front page.
Yes.
Like if you want to be discovered, you have to be on that front page.
And so
but with YouTube,
yeah,
despite the fact that being basically an echo chamber where everyone is screaming, "Hey, welcome to my stream," there is a possibility that someone could type in Fortnite Battle Pass Season 4, and then your face shows up and they watch it.
Yeah,
the discoverability feature is there. That's not going to happen on Twitch. There is, I would say it's 100% luck that somebody finds you on Twitch. Whereas on YouTube, there is a possibility that somebody could have looked you up and found you.
The pipe dream that so many streamers get attached to, and I don't understand how because it happens so freaking rarely, is that you stream for years doing the same thing on Twitch, and then one day you happen to jump to the right game and become ninja. That happens once every few years out of the millions of people streaming. Happens like once. There's only a handful of people that this happened to. That is never the right way to try to grow yourself. Meanwhile, if you move to another platform like YouTube or you start multi-streaming, you spend a little less time streaming endlessly to nobody, you make a couple videos, and you grow an audience, and then those people come and watch your stream, and that helps get your stream more discovered. And I think it's once the switch flips for people, it's so much like more freeing, but so many people are attached to this romantic idea of, I'm going to play my favorite game on Twitch until someone happens to raid me, and then I'll be famous. And no, that won't happen on YouTube. But that also won't happen on Twitch. The mechanics are there, but it won't. Statistically, it's never going to happen on Twitch.
The most likely place it'll happen to you is probably TikTok.
Yeah.
Like I will stream
Reddit too. Reddit streaming.
I haven't done it, but I believe it. But like before like an AEW or WWE pay-per-view, I'll go live on TikTok and I'll just talk to my followers and be like, "Hey, this is what I'm going to watch. This is what I'm hoping is going to happen." I'll pull 1,000 viewers. I don't even have 2,000 followers, and I'll pull 1,000 viewers all just hanging out, and I'll get a couple hundred followers every single time. That happens on TikTok every time I go live. Like if you're not using that to somehow springboard growth into your other platforms, you're just leaving money on the table. Also, you can get paid for it. Their creator fund is a little. It's not great, but
it's not great.
I mean, hey, you can get paid for it.
Yeah, it's money. Someone's bringing up, the community aspect of raids and recommended channels by streamers, but like that can't exist anywhere else. Like collabs exist. Rating does exist now on YouTube. I think the concept of a streamer team is going to be more important on YouTube, where you have to like opt in to being rated by certain people. So if anything, communities will kind of be more niche and stronger there. But on Twitch, we know that raids don't do anything. Like it's a myth that you're going to get raided by Shroud and actually become famous. Like it's the same idea of getting a shout out by PewDiePie and blowing up on YouTube back in the day. It happened to like 2 people and no one else, because viewers don't stick around statistically if they're just thrown at your channel. Whereas if they discover you organically through the mechanisms designed to bring you to the content because they should care about it, they're more likely to stick around because you can actually hook them with what they're doing. Speaking of raids, we got a raid from Dopefish. Thank you.
Dopefish! Raids don't work. Yeah!
Is that my J moment?
Yeah! Thanks, Dopefish.
Thank you.
With them jiggly Kirby booties.
Yeah. I want to transition, since we are talking about streaming platforms. We had a couple topics about YouTube as well.
There was a great question that I'm holding on to, and since it's kind of a dual question, it was oh, did I lose it already? I know who said it.
Rip.
There he is. Kyle Dillon asks, does multi-streaming require better GPU capabilities? To that effect, with Nvidia pricing out of the normal consumer reach, what should startup streamer strategy be? And we'll use that to also springboard into there's new Nvidia graphics cards. We got the 4090 and the 4080 in 2 different flavors that got announced this week.
Thank you for the subs, Reveal and Not Your Parents, GNS. So, yes, answering your question, does multi-streaming require better GPU capabilities? If you are just streaming the exact same bitrate and format and everything, then no, you can just encode the same stream and it will just keep forwarding it to other places. Depending on hype train, depending on what you're using to multi-stream, it will require more bandwidth. So like my multi-stream workflow right now, I've been working on expanding to the everywhere concept. I'm currently streaming to YouTube with HLS, streaming HEVC encoded on my graphics card, and then I'm sending a separate RTMP feed with the RTMP plugin for OBS Studio. That goes to Aircast, which is then forwarding it to Twitch and Trovo. I don't even know if the Trovo
Okay, so
one
you
works,
are using a restreamer service.
Yes. You don't
I
need
thought
to.
you might have been running multiple OBS instances, but
No, I will have to do that once we expand to TikTok and Reddit and those kind of places, because you need to adapt for the vertical format, which means recompositing your scene. So if you're just streaming the same thing, you can theoretically do that either without any changes at all because you just use a restream service, or without using extra GPU power because you're just encoding it once and then using the extra bandwidth to send it to different websites. If you're multi-streaming also to the mobile platforms where you have to adapt it to vertical, then yes, you'll need a whole separate OBS instance and you'll need to format it for vertical, add in your sources either with NDI filters or virtual cams or whatever, and that will be a whole extra layer of compositing load and things like that. Sorry, I was catching up with Twitch chat. We also got 2 more subs from Dope and Ziggy Boca. So that kind of multi-streaming requires...
Can you do multiple OBS in Mac? Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So you can. Apparently, from what this was like weeks ago, so I don't know if it's been updated, but apparently the portable mode of OBS doesn't really work very well on Mac, which is one of the ways to avoid having your profiles conflict and stuff. Is this is my Jampack'd OBS installation in its entirety, and then I have a separate one for like capturing videos that has different plugins and things like that, so the profiles don't conflict, so I don't accidentally change anything and whatever. As far as I can tell, that doesn't work very well on Mac, but you can still launch OBS multiple times and then just switch one's profile and everything, and that still works fine. But yes, we got new GPUs.
Yeah, we got 4090, which is $4,090 if you believe the internet.
What? Oh. I was like, wait a minute, that's not...
We got the 4080 in 2 different flavors.
Thank you, Cody Clan.
Yeah, RTX 4090 is $1,599, right? Something like that. It's expensive.
$1,599.
But
you have the 3080 for $1,199, and the 4080 for $1,199, and then the 4070 that they scratched out the 7 and wrote an 8 for $899.
So do you think that? Do you actually think that's true, and it's not just a 4080 with less memory, or
no? 100%. It's a different die. It's a different memory bandwidth. It is actually worse than the 3080 in terms of those numbers. I don't know that performance will scale that way. That is something I want to clarify. Is raw CUDA core number at this point is almost completely irrelevant, and memory bandwidth is actually pretty important. So that was disappointing to see, but like it is 100% a different card in almost every way. And so
I did not know that. I thought that I thought it was just a cut down memory capacity.
If it was that, I thought everyone was dumb for whining about it. Like that was fine, but it's literally a different GPU. At which point, I'm kind of scratching my head.
Well, I mean, it's another way to get into the latest and greatest of RTX features, since it seems that most of those are not going to be software updates like DLSS 3, which seems to have pretty impressive performance differences between the 30 series and the 40 series. Like they were showing Spider-Man running high frame rates, really not. That game's super well optimized, but like they were showing it running with all of its RTX features full tilt at 4K, and it was peaking at like 90, and then they showed it on the 4090 with DLSS 3, and they were pulling 200 frames, like over 200 consistently.
Some of that was using their made up frames thing, which for a game like Spider-Man isn't gonna matter. Like it's gonna look incredible, you're gonna love it. So
they showed Overwatch running at like 400 FPS.
Oh my god, yes, that was wild. So
That looked great.
If you're unaware, they have a new version of DLSS that will be hardware limited because it's using additional hardware features that aren't available. I'm sure someone will hack it and you'll be able to run it on older cards. It'll just run like ass and you'll regret it.
Barnacules is on it.
Yeah. But the new version of DLSS comes with effectively flow frames. The app I showed that does AI-based frame rate interpolation, it just does it in real time. And so we're talking, like I just said, Will just said, almost doubling frame rates on top of having the RTX features enabled versus not, which is wild. But that we don't know, since they showed it that way, we don't know how many of those frames are real. For cinematic games, for RPGs, for most games, it won't matter.
This is like the equivalent of turning on motion interpolation on your TV.
Yes. But you actually want it for a game instead of...
Yes. But you actually want it this time.
Yeah.
So it's...
and so for most things, it won't matter. It'll look better. It'll feel like it's running a higher frame rate, and that's all that matters, as long as the artifacting stays low. But I don't think they would have released it at this point if it doesn't. The problem is if you're seeing frames that aren't what you're actually interacting with because they're not generated by the game, there's a potential for response time issues there, or like a disconnect in your actions. So for competitive games, first-person shooters, those kinds of things, I am terrified of what that input latency looks like. I have been told they've integrated it with NVIDIA Reflex specifically to be low latency and not be a problem. And I believe that they believe that. But that is one of those things I will not believe another person's word until I get to test it myself, because it doesn't feel like it can work. Because the whole point of running CSGO at 500 frames a second, or having 360 hertz refresh rates or whatever, or using a CRT in my case, is getting that response time from something happening on your screen to appearing in front of your eyes and you being able to react to that on your mouse and keyboard, is to get that cycle as low as possible. And if you are generating...
I'm already
fake
using
frames,
an OLED, zero latency, man.
Yeah, exactly. if you're using something else to generate additional frames before the actual input of the game, I don't see how that's not additional delay, because I'd rather, like with the... Okay, I know I'm tangenting on this, but like in my CRT video, I showed that OLEDs running at lower refresh rates have higher response, or lower response times, higher responsiveness than LCDs running at like double the refresh rate, because the screen is actually refreshing faster, even though, it's changing and giving you that information faster, even if it's technically displaying less frames. I think the same dichotomy is here, of like, you're going to have less input response if you're getting the real frames, even if there's fewer of them, than getting a bunch of fake frames where you're not interacting with the real ones. And so it's really hard to wrap your head around, and until we see actual like raw LDAT numbers and stuff aren't even going to fully explain it. Like, it's going to have to be something you see people play on, and so we're just going to have to game on it and really test.
What's the delay on the HTCP overhead? Don't believe there is any.
There shouldn't.
I don't think that's been a thing for a little while.
I don't think that's ever really been a thing.
Mm.
And like all AMD graphics cards have HDCP enabled, so...
Sorry, I'm just filtering through some of the
good.
chat just to throw questions out, because we hit an ad block on Twitch, so I don't want people to miss out.
Yeah. The reordering of frame processing for DLSS, yeah, that's the big part that affects the RTX stuff. Is that they now can interact. Basically, they now have multi-threaded rendering for RTX, which wasn't a thing before. That's part of where all these performance boosts come from. With all the new DLSS stuff aside, that multi-threading of DLSS, or of RTX, sorry, of ray tracing tensor core stuff, is IMO is as big as it gets. And I think it's both going to impact gaming, but I also think workflow things that use like my video editing stuff, when it actually uses tensor cores, I think that's why we see that improvement. Like they were talking about with Resolve, the object masking thing, which uses the AI cores, gets like a 76% increase or something. And I think that's because it's multi-threaded finally. Like, it's like the After Effects, the multi-threaded, multi-frame rendering. Like, it immediately just has a direct performance impact with no downside. I think that's what we're going to see with this. And that is going to be... That might make ray tracing a standard feature.
I like this question. Not Your Parents asks, the real question is, are the 2 days of two-slot high-end cards a thing of the past?
No, not if they have a water block on
Probably
them.
not, but like,
Yeah, you just put a water block on it. It's 2 slot.
boy, is this thing huge.
Oh my god, yeah. The 4090. So I refuse. I'm making
YouTube stream froze.
Did it?
Yeah. People in the chat are saying it died up there. Sorry, folks on Twitch. We're just doing a little bit of troubleshooting.
Connect streaming software? Question mark. Everything says it's streaming. Oh, I refreshed.
Someone said reload and it worked. I'm
Yep.
trying it myself.
Refreshing fixed it for me, I think. Alright, I'm just gonna hit stop streaming and start streaming again.
Yeah, a lot of people saying that they're seeing
Okay.
loading screens. So
What the hell? This one didn't even have any, like, nothing on OBS's end seemed fine. Or seemed wrong. Alright, we are sending our feed to YouTube. Waiting for it to connect. Okay, I think we're back.
refreshing. It's not going to generate a brand new
that's not
page, right?
No. Oh, it's still showing my older chat whenever I refresh. That's why I think it's working. It's all billable hours for me.
That's the way to think about it, Coda.
It might be YouTube. Like,
Trovo's full speed. Twitch has been fine this whole time.
it won't even let me try to play it. I just get a circle.
Let me try a different browser just for the sake of it.
I guess we'll just forward people to Twitch. Like, it even says I have an excellent connection, that the stream is healthy.
Yeah, it's dead on everything.
Yeah, like YouTube even thinks it's live.
Okay.
So,
well,
all right, go to Twitch.
Um,
Reordering of frame processing for
well, they can't hear
DLSS.
that.
Yeah, that's the big part. Oh god, that affects it just
the
loaded
RTX
again.
stuff.
But still playing my older. Oh, apparently all of YouTube streaming is just down. And videos. We killed YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the sub, Prognostic. Yeah, YouTube's just having an outage. Alright, I'm gonna stop sending them my bandwidth then. That's wild.
all right. Well, that sucks because
That does suck. I'm just gonna unlist the stream. That really sucks. Can we not get like an experiment to see viewership without like things going offline? Anyway.
all right.
Hey everybody, Twitch is dead, YouTube's better, and then YouTube dies.
What can you do?
All right,
Let's
well,
let's just keep rolling.
we rated my own Twitch stream. Let's keep it going.
Where were we?
Oh yeah, so I was saying I'm gonna take a professional stance that I refuse to call any card a X.5 slot card. There is no such thing as half of a slot. It either blocks the slot from being used, or it doesn't. The
Listen,
RTX
I'm gonna bend
4090,
my card around that slot. Okay.
the RTX 4090 is a 4-slot card. It keeps you from using that 4th slot. Therefore, it is a 4-slot card.
We had somebody in the Discord that was saying, why don't they just sell the card without the heatsink on it, and just let people bolt on their Noctua fans? And as funny as that is, and as much as I know that people have done that, especially to save a card that's died, don't do that.
Yeah.
It's that big for a reason. Unless you're doing unless you're gonna put a water block on it, I don't really think you should be doing that. But all this to say, I think we glossed over, like, the performance stuff is great. The additions to Nvidia Studio is great. I think we glossed over the one thing that is potentially going to be the thing that sells it to streamers, and I think that would be the dual AV1 encoders. We have a brand this is the first time in 3 card generations that they've updated NVINC again, right?
2, I guess.
2.
Because they updated it for 20 series. So I'm actually going to pull up the article here. So actually, that's not the right one. All right, that's fine. This is an extra feature. We'll talk about this in a minute. So this is 8th gen NVINC, which people are trying to interpret with regards to H.264. I've asked, there is no direct change to the base H.264 encoder. However, there is dual encoders now. Now, the 10 series cards, the Pascal cards, 1080, had dual encoder chips. You couldn't do anything special with them, but it allowed you more encoding capacity with regards to like multiple streams running at the same time compared to the 20 series. Like that was almost a downgrade, but you traded that downgrade for the quality bump. Now they have dual encoder chips again, but you can actually use them as in the driver. It will, now this has to be a software enabled feature. So like Topaz Labs is getting support, OBS is getting support this fall, and they'll work with Blackmagic and Adobe and whatever to implement it. But it will literally cut the frame in half, encode the separate halves on the separate chips, which theoretically means better quality too, theoretically, and then split them back together, almost like SLI for video encoding. This is very similar to Intel's hyperencode, where that one will take the dedicated GPU and the iGPU and just encode alternate frames to split it together. Instead of doing alternate frames, it splits the frame in half and encodes half the frame and does it. This is really freaking cool. And a while, theoretically, like I said, could improve quality for H.264. I don't think it will. But what it does allow for is 8K 60 encoding now, and they have AV1, and the dual encoders applies to AV1 as well. They are claiming
very quick to show it off too.
Yeah.
Like
the YouTube video doesn't show much because it's a YouTube video. You can't. I mean, you can get some points. Like they show the foliage in Fortnite, and it's a lot clearer.
The freeze frames is where you can really pick it up. But
here,
like
I can pull that up real quick.
It's fairly substantial. Like I would, if you want to like dumb it down and compare it to something else, this you could say like streaming with AV1 on Twitch with the same bit rate and frame rate and resolution is like the equivalent of going to 4K.
Yeah.
Like it's, I mean, look, even scrunched down in this scene, you can clearly tell that this looks significantly better.
Yeah. It's not going to be the same. I mean, just like with Intel's, it's not going to be the same quality as the software encoders on the super slow presets. I do think the dual encoders will allow them to implement more presets that allow it to go slower. Because like right now, something I'm very excited for is NVINC H.264, even on current gen cards, has a preset that competes with X264 slow. It's called P7, but you can't run it in real time at most resolutions. And so it's not useful. I'm hoping the dual encoders fixes that. But the fact that they implemented that at all makes me excited that for the AV1 stuff, they'll maybe implement it for like VOD stuff at least, to where you can squeeze out that crazy quality.
But with that said, though, you had a great point on Twitter. You can get access to this without spending $1,600.
Yes. So if you have been waiting, like a lot of the people that I've seen talking about it have just been waiting to upgrade to 40 series for AV1. If you're outraged by the prices or you just don't want to spend $900 to $1,600, you can throw in an Intel A380 for $200 and use it as a dual GPU. I've been using it as dual GPU for the past, I guess it's been 2 months since my coverage came out, maybe longer, since my first video came out. I've had a couple minor issues with the drivers, and I think some of it is to blame on my Windows install because it has other issues where like a couple times it has just restarted when I was doing nothing. Never when I was doing work, only when I was doing nothing, but it will just like hard reset because the drivers freaked out or something. But otherwise, I do my video editing on my 3090 and then encode the video to AV1 on my A380, and I've had no issues. And you can stream that way too once OBS implements the features coming.
Coming soon, I think.
Yeah.
I saw a Git update pretty recently.
Yeah, I did do a test stream for my Midjourney stream before we started Jampack'd using QuickSync on the card, and at the time the OBS QuickSync implementation wasn't built for the DGPUs, so it was like, well, I don't know what hardware this is, and so it defaulted to the 16:10 mode. That's why it was all stretched. But the devs, I'm pretty sure N28 implemented a bug fix for that temporarily, and then AV1 encoding is coming. So If you don't want to pay $1,600, but you want the higher quality encoder, that is the value I've been preaching the whole time about the Intel GPUs. And they're pretty rad in that regard. And so you can get that. There is one feature, though, that they implemented for AV1 on the Nvidia GPUs that did not get talked about anywhere on the press side of things. But there's an Nvidia developer blog about it. They implemented the DLSS frame rate interpolation for video encoding. And actually, I said for AV1, this applies to everything. You can use it on current GPUs. They're calling it FRUC. Frame rate up conversion, I think. I don't know that they even actually define it. But literally, it's the same idea of... There's a demo here. Well, that's not the right one. This one. So they convert the video into motion vectors as if it's a gameplay and analyze where the movement is.
Huh.
Find the gaps in it, use the AI to fill the gaps, and then you get new frames. And they can do it much faster, I think, than flow frames can. And theoretically, it looks like it might be a little more accurate than it might be, but I'm not sure.
What the fruit?
Yeah, what the fruit. So this is really cool. Like I said, it'll apply. It seems to just be a new library that applies to all encoders, because I did get confirmation that anyone, like any of the RTX cards, will be able to play with it. It'll just run significantly faster on... Oh yeah, frame rate up conversion. I was right. Okay, it'll run significantly faster on the new ones. But that is pretty interesting. What I am curious with, and I don't know how it would work because of the software, but theoretically you could use that to fix frame rate problems when you're streaming. If someone builds the right implementation in OBS and it's like...
Oh, I'm dropping frames. Oh, Fruit took care of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, or if you're running a game with like... You know, people, like I had someone in comments recently being like, hey, or actually I think it was Twitter, I run Red Dead, I can only run it at 80 FPS, I don't want to run it at 60, but I'm getting frame stutters in my game. You can use that to potentially smooth out those issues. Those kinds of things. The potential there is huge. Again, it requires, the problem with everything NVIDIA comes up with for the past 6 years now has been, this is an amazing feature, who's going to implement it? And so, waiting for that. But the feature is really, really cool. And we saw with the NVIDIA background removal VST that like someone implemented it and then Elgato made their own version because they found a way to do it more smoothly for their software and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. And then a couple updates that come to all NVIDIA stuff with the broadcast background removal. They now have temporal sampling, so it will sample over time. So if like something randomly moves in the background, it theoretically won't just flash in and out again. It'll just be filtered out, which should be pretty cool. They're doing a face expression
updates.
Yeah, a face expression estimation, which will like analyze your face and help convert it better for VTube stuff, which is pretty cool if you don't want an iPhone strapped to your face. And then they have the weird eye contact thing that they're now marketing at podcasts instead of just video conferencing, which again, someone has to implement and develop, but I think will just be weird Uncanny Valley stuff. Hey, I work in VFX. We have this tech, but it takes minutes to render a frame, not milliseconds. This is amazing. Exactly. Are 40 series prices too high considering all the cool technology they implement? So, hot take time. Let's switch scenes here. Me, hot take? Never. I'm going to say...
Hit me with it. I want to hear it.
The prices aren't too high if you're going to use the features. That was kind of the basis of my video, and a few people really didn't get it. But like, if you just want to play games, yeah, the new features, like the new DLSS and stuff like that, that's great. And if you want the best of the best, you're going to go NVIDIA. Like, I do not believe AMD is going to have a card that is better than the 4090. They never have. Like, between the feature set, which AMD always lacks, and the raw power, AMD's not going to do it. But if you just play games, you maybe want the best actual performance for your buck versus upscaling and frame rate interpolation and all of that, you're probably going to find an AMD card that fits you better. If you actually use your graphics card for other things, if you do video editing, if you do AI stuff, if you do developing, I just downloaded Omniverse so I can explore that crap. If you do Unreal Engine, all those kinds of things, this card is not too expensive. $1,600 versus the $5,000 the equivalent Quadro has always cost throughout the years? Immediately.
Yeah, I mean, it is a cheaper version of those workstation graphics cards.
Yes,
Like,
the Titan card is dead. Titan card died in 20 series. They made it clear the 3090 was the Titan, and they're just not going to do a separate driver stack. Having switched from a Titan RTX to a 3090, for most applications I can find, they stopped doing separate drivers anyway because of the Nvidia Studio driver track. You can actually go in GeForce Experience or just manually download and choose that you want the Studio driver track, and those are slower to release, so you don't get the immediate game updates, but you get a more stable and, verified driver. And to me, I think that made the Titan class redundant, and they seem to agree, which is why they stopped making it. So compared to even the $2,500 that the Titan RTX cost, $2,500 for the base price, that was it, and then the $5,000 for the equivalent Quadro to the 3080, 2080, 1080 card has always cost. The accessibility here is insane. Like, I might have to save up for it, but me as a worker in an industry that needs these features can justify $1,600 years ahead of $5,000 for a card. I've never spent $5,000 on a single CPU computer component.
There's also the other, like, not even looking at it from like a workflow standpoint. Like, the way they show it off in a very, like, this is what it can do for you in terms of gaming perspective. But almost all of those demos are looking at it as 4K or 8K gaming.
If
Think
you're still
about
on your 1080p or even
are you 4K and 8K gaming?
Right.
Then you don't need this card.
Right.
I was like, I'm playing in 4K. I made the switch to 4K. I might consider this thing.
Yeah.
Depending on what the 30 or 4080 is capable of. But like, this thing is the best of the best, the cream of the crop. It's not going to be for everybody. There is going to be alternatives available from Nvidia themselves that will fill that void that you need.
Yeah. I think it's worth clarifying. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, you could do something a little off the wall. You could get an AMD card, which obviously has its own baggage associated with it, but performance-wise, they're keeping step pretty well, I would say. And if it affects your streaming, you could get one of those Intel
card and an Intel card,
throw it in your PC, and now you're right up along the side with them.
Yeah.
So there's solutions to this problem. It's not even really a problem of the card being too expensive, but I don't know. I don't think it's too expensive at all. I think for the best of the best, you're paying exactly what you should be paying.
I do want to clarify, I think, that I'm primarily, at least for my take, talking about price-wise the 4090. The 4070 marked up to a 4080, that price gets a lot more difficult to justify. And at that point, I would buy used and figure out, or buy the previous generation and let the market figure itself out. That's always my thing, is like, people freak out about the top tier price, and I ask, like, are you spending that much money on a display to drive it? If so, the price of the 4090 probably isn't that impressive to you. And the same thing with the power draw, like, especially now that we know that it's not twice as much as a 3090 or whatever. Like, a lot of people freak out about that, and I know electricity prices are going up right now, and there's a lot that plays into it, but realistically, if you're driving a $5,000 overkill computer and the 8K monitors or whatever for all this, realistically, you're not budgeting your power to use as little as possible for your frames. Like, that's not the computer you chose if you're going with that card. It's hard to see that being the real, like, there's discussions online, and I'm trying not to invalidate anyone's, like, perspectives or, like, opinions, because I do that a lot. There's this trend online to get mad about a thing from a place that you're not actually ever going to experience it. In that, if you're complaining about the price of a 4090 and you're playing on a 1060 and you're just looking for the next 60 card, overall, the 4090 doesn't affect you, and complaining about it is weird. Now, obviously, the prices have gone up and they do trickle down, and that is a problem. You can't get the value I got for my 970 anymore. But I think, I mean, realistically, if for me, price conscious shopping has always meant looking at the used markets or looking at a previous generation market, and you can still find incredible values right now. And like, if $900 for a 4080, 4070 card is too much, you can get a 3090 Ti for $1,000. Like, whoo, that's a lot of horsepower. Like, it's tough. It's really tough. I mean, that was my whole point with my video of, like, it's not just a card for raw gaming performance anymore. They don't measure it that way anymore. So it's hard to really look at it through that lens. And that sucks for the people who just want gaming. But, like, AMD is doing FSR. Like, FSR went from nothing to amazing in, like, 6 months. 6 months.
Yeah, and it's more available across the board.
It runs on every card, so if you don't want to invest in it because you might switch to Nvidia later, it'll still run on your Nvidia card.
Like, and if you want to make the argument that it's not as good as the LSS, that's fine. But it is like, it's like 85 to 90% there. Like,
Yeah.
it's so close to being as good as it kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like,
and devs like Insomniac are doing their own upscaling thing with some of their PC ports now. That is actually
not only
really
that,
good.
they're doing their own interpretation, their own version of FSR for
Right.
their engine, but it also stacks with DLSS and FSR.
Yeah, you could run the game at like 240p up to 4K.
And it'll look reasonable.
Yeah. We got a comment in the chat talking about, again, I did address the 4070 disguised as a 4080. So I'm gonna alter not the take I just gave, but your original question about the 4080, 4070.
Yeah, because I did not know that the cut down 4080,
Right.
the 12 gig, I did not know that that was a 40, like a different die and everything. I thought it was just, here's the 4080, and we shaved off some memory off the top.
Right.
Like that was what I thought it was, but I'm a little surprised to hear it's actually a different card entirely. But
So-
I'm still interested in seeing how that 4080, the real 4080, stacks up against previous gen 3090 and 3080.
I'm gonna give a piece of speculation to back up my take in that context. That may not turn out to be right, but if it does, remember that I said it here. That I think it was a strategic move, and that when we get announcements for the actual 4070, it will make sense. Nvidia started with the 20 series cards, dividing up their product stacks a lot more. We got the 2080, 2070, and then eventually a 2060, and then we got the GTX 16 line of cards. We haven't really got an update.
You also got TI cards and you got super cards.
Well, yeah, those get that was annoying. But like, they started making multiple tracks of cards. And so I think it was a strategic choice, both because these cards were delayed almost a year. Like, between actual delays and the fact that, and all those articles about them just being like, hey, they have too many 30 series cards, so they're just going to wait. Like, I think it was a strategic move that, yes, it started out as a 4070, and they're like, oh shit, we got to make it a 4080, whatever. And they're charging more for what was the 4070. I think we're still going to get, how are we getting spam on the YouTube stream that's unlisted?
Don't worry about it. Nobody can see it.
It's just so weird. Anyway, I think they're still going to come out with a 4070 that is closer to the price you might expect for a 4070 following the 30 series. That is still a compelling offer. Like, I think they're still going to offer something in that tier, and that they moved it up because they had extra product buffer that they're putting up there.
Maybe they rebrand some of the 30 series stock that they're holding on to, and then release
I don't know about that.
Release it as a rebadge or something. I don't know.
That might be.
Well,
I could see that for the if they went 1650 to like 1750 or however the 2650, you know, whatever that second GTX tier maybe, but like I don't think again, I'm aware this could be wrong, but I do not believe that the 4070 getting converted to a 4080 is 100% let's charge more money for the same card. Obviously that's a factor, but I believe that it happened because another product was a more compelling offer in that slot. Should they have made it the 4070 Ti or something else? Perhaps, but they didn't announce the 4070 yet, so it would be weird to announce a Ti before the 7. They're naming their Ti and super tiers get really weird. I get that, but I don't think it's purely just, hey, we have a 4070, let's charge way more for it. I think it's, hey, we have another 4070, let's just squeeze this in here. I could be wrong, but like, I don't know.
All right. I think we burned a good amount of time on the RTX stuff. Why don't we move on to some of this other? You wanna jump around here? I think the one at the bottom is probably gonna be the most brief of them all.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there was a bunch of layoffs at G4 this week.
Yeah.
Some of them being back office staff, writers, but we also saw the departure of Frosk and Kevin Pereira. This is less than a year into the new G4. It's a shame because it's like this G4 could totally work. It could absolutely work as like your one-stop shop to like all things esports. You know, it's not something that can't work in the current landscape, but for whatever reason, being business related or not, they just seem to never be able to deliver that. Like it's just they're just trying to deliver the old school sketch based G4, which I still love, but it's not what they needed. They needed something that everybody can tune into consistently. Like, oh, the Philadelphia Fusion are playing. I can turn on G4 and watch that on Overwatch League. Oh, Shroud's gonna play his first game in Valorant. I can turn on G4 and I can watch that. Like that's what it needed to be, and it never turned into that ever. It was always just new, unique shows that were, I don't know, it's trying to rekindle some of that old G4 magic, which again, like I said, I like them, but like you need something to bring people back. You need something to keep coming back. I don't know. I think you mentioned something along the lines of they basically recreated what Ven was doing, or they did a better job of representing the brand on the summer show, and then once the summer show went away and it went into a real channel, it was like dead. Like you just, there was no content. All the viewership dried up. That's something along the lines of that.
Yeah, I mean, hang on. Apparently, Kevin just announced that he
Dylan in
left
chat
yesterday.
asked if this was my
Kevin Pereira's
last
gone.
show.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Is it?
Yeah, so the rumor was that he was preparing to leave
Dylan in chat asked
later
if
this year, but he just left this week entirely.
Wild.
For a while.
Which means I think only Adam Sessler is left. As
Well,
far
Adam
as
had to step back for family things and hasn't, like, he hadn't been on the live show for, like, he was only in the studio for, like, a month. Like, he immediately went back to San Diego or wherever he's actually based out of and just stayed there. Which kind of sucked because I liked having him in person on the stuff, but yeah, apparently Kevin just said he was leaving. So Kevin's intentions were translated or conveyed pretty quickly, that like he wanted to build up AOTS and hand it off. And I get that, but also I know a lot of people watched for him and for the way that he ran the show. It's tough. So back to what you were saying of they switched the branding around a lot, and I still don't fully know my thoughts on this. I really think that they're simultaneously doing too much in some places and too little in others. You talked about being the one-stop shop for esports, being like, hey, this team is streaming, whatever. They clearly can't get the licensing for that, and that sucks.
There's no direction.
Yeah,
it
too.
It very, like, it seems like every time I even give G4 some of my thought, like I think, oh, what's on G4, and I go and look. They have a completely new schedule, like all new shows, new casts, like whoa.
And like what was that? Words. They they have no direction, and they have. Frick, what was I just saying? Branding. They change things. Crap, I don't know. My brain's farting. But yeah, they have no direction. They had a whole bunch of different types of content. Oh yeah, okay. So they couldn't get the licensing for esports. Like the whole reason they had to cancel Boosted was they could never actually show esports on their esports show. Because they can't even show clips because of licensing. Like,
how
that's
does that happen?
busted.
How
And
does
so
that happen?
they could literally go offline with Boosted, like turn the show off and then go play Valorant, but they couldn't show clips of Valorant things happening. And so they did the old G4 skits of like going on to like a location and recreating things. But like that was probably way more expensive. But like they didn't have the licensing for that. So they couldn't be the one-stop shop for esports. And I don't think enough people knew what to like tune in for, because they have the always on concept, but then like you said, you tune in and there's XPlay and AOTS and stuff like that. But there's also the random streams, and it's just like if I get a notification for XPlay, I expect it to be an episode, not two people doing a Twitch stream of a random game. And there are the community building aspects of it. I don't think it was divided up enough. And they did this whole thing where like they had everything residing on the XPlay channel as the G4 channel, and then they undid all that and made a new channel just for XPlay. So the original XPlay channel was just the G, like they divided up the content all weird. Like I really don't think enough planning was done into what the content structure looked like. I think they knew they wanted to get all the people together. They knew they wanted to get a general formula, and they were very much figuring it out as they go, and I can respect that. But even as someone who was foaming at the mouth at the Thanksgiving reunion, ready for the channel to come back, I found it hard to keep up with and figure out what there was to watch, because every time I like wanted to tune in, it was stuff I really didn't want on in the background. And the Summer House thing was its own separate thing that didn't really relate to the content at all. So that was a weird like build up. And it seems like
it's kind of proof positive that you can collect a lot of talent in the same space, but if they lack leadership, they're not going to be able to deliver.
I don't think the core content was a problem at all, and that's what sucks. I think that's what always sucks in these scenarios. Is XPlay was freaking solid.
I mean, yeah, give me 20 minutes of Adam Sessler talking about Hades.
Adam Sessler and
yes,
Gerard and the Black Hokage, like they were killing it. Like those shows were great. AOTS, the interviews they did, the freaking interview with Adam Savage is what like confirmed that I needed to go get a diagnosis for ADHD. Like that interview was incredible. The show they were doing there was awesome. The conversations they were doing was awesome. Apparently the Black Hokage left too. I haven't been watching the live stuff recently because it's so hard to keep up with, so that just further backs that up. That sucks. The core content, they knew how to do those shows. I don't think they knew how to manage a massive media conglomerate. And I think we've seen repeatedly now that no one does. Like, is Rooster Teeth still around? Are they the only success story at this point? Machinima collapsed.
Rooster Teeth is still somehow around, despite the fact that Warner Brothers is cutting off its limbs every 5 minutes. So, but, I mean, that's not like me commenting on the state of Rooster Teeth. It's just I'm just shocked that being a part of a company that is literally lopping off its limbs to save itself hasn't cut Rooster Teeth loose yet.
But like Machinima failed, the Game Station failed, all the MCN based ones failed. We had a couple other studios like that try to start up and crash. Vin lasted like 9 months and then just vanished. Like they didn't even have like G4 is having a slow churn. This is very akin to 2009, 2010, where we're gonna like we started seeing way more Bad Boys or Cops reruns. I keep calling it Bad Boys. Cops reruns. Like this is the slow death that it had in the first place. But Vin just like vanished. Vin was just like there and then they were gone. They just went radio silent. Whereas this is still just a slow fizzle out.
I think that it's potentially too early to say that this will be the second death. That I think they have a chance. I think they have a chance. But I'm not sure what they do now, because like if they can't do the esports thing, one of the other reasons that you would tune in all the time was for the gaming events.
Right.
That stuff doesn't happen anymore. You don't get.
I haven't seen any game launches or E3 extravaganzas or where's my stack of PS3 unboxings?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where they go from here, but it's
and it's
yeah, I don't know where they go from here. Like, I don't think it's the death, but they're gonna have to figure out something. They're gonna have to figure out like what are they bringing to the table, and it's not gonna. You're not gonna be able to go find 5 more Scott the Wazes and license all of their library and throw it up on the channel. It's not gonna work.
Right.
Why would I watch it there? I can just go watch it on.
Especially because I think the online channels fuel the TV channel, and so you need the new content to fuel that. It's not, like you said, you're not going to go tune in just to watch Scott the Waz, but like if you're watching this and then you know it's on your TV, you can go watch it.
You cannot treat the TV product as a means of growing another product.
Right.
You have to create
Especially in
content
this day and age.
specifically for it, and then you syndicate it out.
Yeah. And I think the original G4 had the inherent boost of being a novelty, of that was the one place you could tune in to watch people talk about game launches and interview devs. That's no longer a unique thing. And so you're right. Like, what are they offering that is worth tuning in for? And I hope they find it. I really do. I wanted so badly to be a part of it for years and to get access to the archives, and I still go back and watch a lot of old episodes, and I still have a lot of the new stuff to catch up on, but I don't know.
They need something like NoClip. They need something like some kind of journalistic side of it, where like you get behind the scenes, deep behind the scenes specials. Like, that's what they need to be doing. At least that's what I think, anyway.
Yeah, you're right. Like, NoClip. I think they need content that isn't just. This is gonna sound counterintuitive because that's effectively what NoClip is, but like, not just talking about games and playing games. Because right now it seems like most of their lineup is we're playing games live or we're reviewing the games or talking about gaming news. Where is the extra stuff? Where's the entertainment? I want something more, something specialized, something.
I mean, it could be something as dumb as like, I remember I tuned in to a G4 once just so that I could catch like 10 minutes of the bonus DVD that came with Halo 2, because they were showing behind the scenes clips from it and I didn't have it. Like,
yeah,
even stupid stuff like that. Like,
right.
Just show me something that is unique. Like, I can't get it anywhere else. Like, I don't know, it's bit of a rant on that, but
we got a couple final topics here. We're over the hour mark, so we gotta move a little quickly here, but we do have an Xbox Switch.
Yes, so cloud Xbox Switch from Logitech.
This would be the best concept ever if it wasn't the cost of a Switch.
It would. I don't. So does this thing have any internal hardware? Like, can it render anything on the device itself?
I would assume not. It looks like it's literally just a tablet.
Like, is it just a really low power thin client that runs all of these different streaming fronts?
As best as we know, that's what it looks like.
And it costs $350.
I want to know what deal happened. Do you remember all the rumors that xCloud was coming to Switch? Like, Microsoft was even like saying like, "Hey, we'd love to work with Nintendo." I want to know what happened behind the scenes that they think this is the solution instead of putting it on hardware where people are already playing games.
I bet they got it running on the Switch and realized that streaming on the Switch is terrible.
Oh, because their networking sucks.
Maybe. Like, I mean, you can do cloud versions of a bunch of games on the Switch, and it's a terrible experience. It's not good.
Yeah.
Like, but this, presumably, with modern Wi-Fi technology, could be a pretty good experience. But to that end, it's $350 or $299 on sale. You are almost there. You can buy.
Yeah, you can just buy the Xbox.
You could buy an Xbox, but you could buy a Steam Deck, and you could do the same thing. And they run the games locally, and it's a better experience.
But yes, also this freaking Steam Deck.
It's so wild. This is just
Yeah.
a wild. It's a good idea, but man, is that thing priced very
Yeah, Greg says it's just a
questionably.
mid-range Android tablet.
So, but you could potentially run something on it if you want it. Like that's
Like they could
That's
unlock it to
probably
run
the
like
only
mobile
value, though.
games, but like
it's not going to be an well, words.
why would you use this over, other than a slightly bigger screen, why would you use this over a phone with a controller attachment?
Yeah, get like a what was this thing? Like a dog bone?
Yeah, the PS5 backbone, the
Backbone.
Razer has one, the
It's
GameStar has a million of them.
It's very. I guess the only thing that's
I have.
better.
Like, here, I got you.
I guess the only thing that's better this is potentially
You have a phone, so spend $40. You have xCloud in the palm of your hand.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
This one even has an Xbox button on it. Like, that's it.
I think this thing has access to like Luna and Stadia and all those other streaming services. I don't know how easy it is to access those on mobile, but I don't know. This is just. I think the biggest problem with this thing is its price is it's a little questionable.
If this was the Amazon Fire tablet of mobile streaming, where it was like $150, you buy it for your kid to stream games. Boom. Awesome. This
is gonna piss a lot of kids off on Christmas.
Yeah.
They're gonna open this thing up and be like, "What is this thing?
Yeah.
I can't leave the house and play this."
Yeah, xCloud, Nvidia GeForce Now, and access to more through Google Play Store. So not even natively.
150. Nick says he's turned off by it at 150. I think I would be interested at 150.
As an adult, buying it for yourself, maybe not. But for like a kid, like you said, a kid Christmas present, like, hey, you can play PC games, Xbox games, and whatever else through the place. Like, that's a pretty compelling offer.
Billions of COVID webcams
Oh
sold.
my God. Oh, they have a new microphone too. We're not going to cover that deeply here, but they decided to compete with the SM7B.
Great.
So
Wonderful.
I forgot what it was called.
SM7 Blue.
Blue Sona. Yeah. Anyway, it was also announced, speaking of Xbox, that they basically removed the DRM where you have to be online to play from your disc, which just kind of shows that it never needed to be there. We're back in 2013.
So wait. So what? You can just go and buy the disc and then
Play the game.
you can install it and then take the disc out and play it?
No, you still need the disc, but like you couldn't play games offline even if you had the disc. Like,
This is for offline play.
Yeah.
I thought this was like never
no,
mind.
it's just for if you put in a disc and you don't have internet, you couldn't play the
Gotcha.
game. Which, like,
Yep.
we know why that's a problem, but like it shouldn't have been a problem.
Right.
So still
Okay.
can't do backwards compatible games because literally it has to re-download a different version of the game, but that's fine. Like, really.
Yeah, but once you have the game downloaded, you could play it offline, right?
Yes.
There you go. I don't know. That's sorry, guys. Last topic of the day, though. You're gonna have fun assembling all the clips that this is.
I know.
This is gonna.
I'll have to edit this pod wildly.
Yeah. Yeah. So our last topic of the day is YouTube partnership update and a music update, which is already being interpreted incorrectly. I can use any music I want on stream now? No.
yeah.
No, you can't. Stop it.
My news scene isn't showing, but YouTube is updating the partner program. They are changing it so that there's multiple tiers. So now people who do live streaming or shorts will get access. Well, not specifically them, but like creators who aren't in the partner program, because it's very difficult to get in the formal partner program with just shorts or just streams. They're making it easier to get access to the fan funding tools. So that's super chats, basically, tips while you're streaming, super stickers, which is a dumb version of tips while you're streaming. Super Thanks, which is tips on videos, and then channel memberships, which is like Twitch subs. They're introducing in early 2023 a new tier of the partner program where you don't need to get those 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subs and things like that. It's unclear what exactly the requirements will be for that, but it will make the life a lot easier for streamers. And then, of course, the formal partner program with ads and everything else will still have that second tier. They're also introducing a new shorts-specific entry into the partner program. So if you are just focused on shorts, instead of doing the 4,000 public watch hours, you have to get 10 million views on shorts in 90 days, which
That's
is
very
a lot.
doable.
It's
very
doable, but it's a
though.
lot.
Yeah,
and then ads on shorts are coming up, so that's going to be a thing. And then music.
I mean, I can just read it.
Yeah.
Here's how it will work. Beginning in early 2023, current and future YouTube partner creators will be eligible for revenue sharing on Shorts. In Shorts, ad runs between videos in the Shorts feed. So every month, revenue from these ads will be added together and used to reward Shorts creators and help cover the costs of music licensing. From the overall amount allocated to creators, they will keep 45% of the revenue distributed based on their share of total Shorts views. The revenue share remains the same no matter if they use music or not. I don't think this means go out and use unlicensed music.
No, but they are introducing they are adding more licensed music to the music library. So they're renaming it to Creator Music. I forgot what it was called before. But they're calling it Creator Music, and supposedly they're getting more rights holders to add traditional music. They're working with the record labels to add it to your YouTube videos.
But that's not how this is going to be interpreted.
No.
In fact, I've already seen people on Twitter just saying,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to be able to use whatever we want.
Yeah.
No, you have to use this stuff.
Yeah, you still have to use what's in the library. You may even still have to add it from the library, just like it is on TikTok. Like even with backing track, if your video's over a minute, you can't add the music in your video that you edit on the computer and upload it to TikTok. You have to add it in the TikTok app. And so there are going to be
and remove my audio. And
yeah, there's going to be restrictions. There's going to be limitations, and obviously, like if you want your content to live beyond YouTube, then you still can't really use that music anyway because you don't have rights to it outside of YouTube. So it's not as amazing as it seems, but it's definitely a great step, and it shows that like they put in the effort to do that when it was Twitch that was actually facing major music issues 2 years ago, and they seemingly haven't. But that's not the point. But it's very interesting that they are still all in on shorts, which tells me that beyond what we see on the front end, it really is working for them. And so that is exciting because it has already had implications for everything else. So to me, shorts represented YouTube finally acknowledging that different formats of content exist on YouTube. Because, you know, you've got short form videos, you got normal videos, you got long form videos, you got podcasts, you got classes, whatever. And with that, I think we talked last time about them doing a whole bunch of changes for education YouTube and introducing the courses and things like that. They're also doing dedicated podcast playlists. And so they're seeing that this is working, and that means that all different kinds of content are going to keep getting new features, which is very exciting.
Yeah, I hope that they can. I hope that the messaging behind the music stuff just is cleaned up a little bit. Like it's clear to me what it is, but like the fact that it's immediately being interpreted as I can use whatever I want is it's not good.
I don't know how much of that is necessarily their fault though, because I mean we saw that with Twitch streamers all the time. They're like, you can just use whatever, and Twitch is like, no, don't use whatever.
We gave you access to the VOD track to hopefully mitigate some of these issues. I was like, oh, well, I'm going to listen to Metallica.
Yeah.
Okay. They're going to hit you.
Yeah. Thank you for the subs, Tag Slays. I saw your one earlier. I didn't call it out as well. But, and the ads thing, people keep bringing up the 5 to 11 unskippable ads. That was a bug. Like, obviously they were testing something, but it came out as a bug. Because, I mean, it's the same thing. If you tune into a longer video and it shows you that there's going to be like 20 ad slots in there, It's not supposed to work that way. YouTube is supposed to dynamically serve you ads based on what they think you'll sit through and also how many you've seen recently. So if you just watched a pre-roll ad, you're not supposed to get 20 mid-roll ads, even if I manually put them in there. And so it's just bugs with the platform. If you only ever encounter it once, there's no reason to be freaked out by it. Like, I know Luke was pitching on the WAN show the whole concept of like aiming high and then seeing what people will settle for and whatever, and I get that, but like, obviously YouTube's always going to keep increasing ads to some degree, but realistically they were never going to just roll out a flat 5 to 11 unskippable ad like real feature.
Right.
I think 2 to 3 for like a 2-hour long show or something, maybe. But because I'd rather do the Spotify model of watch 2 ads and then enjoy the 2 hours of movies versus like radio where it's like 4 minutes of ads in between things. So half the time if I'm going somewhere, by the time I get there, the music started and I spent the whole time listening to commercials. Like, I don't know.
All right. Well, with that, after 3 restarts, I think we've made it through this episode.
Yeah.
You got any plans for the weekend? This was our first Friday episode.
I know.
I would like to say that the Friday episode turned out a lot better.
It did overall.
If it weren't for the fact that YouTube had an outage and
Yeah.
then, you know, but you guys let us know. Like we're still trying stuff out. I like the Friday show a lot.
Yeah.
And it seems we got a lot more viewers on the Friday shows anyway.
Yeah. This weekend I'm finishing the studio. We have the desk wall complete and the wall in the back complete, as you see all the CRTs up there. And so I'm hopefully finishing the rest of it because there's still a mountain of clutter next to me, and otherwise maybe doing something fun other than renovating the studio as I've been doing for 14 days as of today. So
there you go. Yeah, I mean, I got new PC hardware showing up today.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll give myself a light upgrade and then check out the Modern Warfare 2 beta, I think, because that goes completely open and free tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I want to be on that too. Sick.
So
thanks for watching, everybody who stuck through all of the resets.
Yes, thank you for sticking around. Hopefully the next episode is not quite as stop and starty. But yeah, I don't know. You got the catchphrase. You said it.
Oh yeah. Well, before we go, since we didn't do most of the sections because I didn't have any content the past 2 weeks, I did want to give a huge shout out to Mike over at Earthworks and the B&H team. I was on the B&H podcast yesterday, and it was freaking incredible. I'm waiting on getting the VOD so I could share that out, but that was a blast and a great time, and so that was really cool. And yeah,
awesome.
Remember to be kind, rewind.